they were all paupers, even they were doing incredible work for these businesses. You have to understand when you are in that seat, you have to be benevolent, and you have to make sure everybody is winning here. If somebody's losing, they're going to come against you at some point.
Wait, do you think some of these big tech companies are following the rule of benevolence when it comes to competition?
No, I don't. Unfortunately, I don't. And I think they need to be careful because it will be a strong backlash. Just like any revolution of a government where the inequity becomes so wide, there's a revolution. There will be a reckoning at some point, and everyone has to understand we have to all work and get along. It doesn't mean we're all equal, but it does mean we have to be closer and reduce the inequality and make sure that it is accessible to people and open, because otherwise you will get an uprising. And we're starting to see that in governments around the world because they've said enough is enough. And you can't just extract without giving back.
And there's a big pushback against big technology in American politics today as well. What should the technology companies be worried about, and is it a valid worry?
Well, I think that not just tech companies, but most companies in general, they have become governments in their own right in some ways. The CEOs, and I wish them well, but a lot of them are politicians now. They have to worry about the governments and multiple governments, and should we be selling in China or not? If we are selling in China, we're not doing the right thing for human rights. These kinds of things. So these big businesses have turned into governments in a way, and these CEOs have turned into certain government officials, and with their own biases, or people claim that they have biases. It's really hard now. I don't have any real
Today's
advice.
date,
We have to watch
May
out for
14th,
politicizing companies and company
2022.
culture, because and media has always kind of been that way, but we can't let that get into tech and everywhere else, because if we do, we're never going to solve this climate crisis. We're never going to solve our social media crises that we have. We have to find some more common ground and bring more togetherness and be around a mission and not am I left, am I right, and being attacked from all sides.
You talked about the crisis in social media just now. What is the crisis in social media?
Anyone with any voice says, I have an equal right to use this amplification tool to influence people. And for me, the biggest issue is, sure, you can have a bigger town square. Okay, so now you have a bigger town square where the town crier says whatever they want. But when you're selling ads, and those ads are algorithmically put next to things that have intentional inflaming content, whether that's you believe it or you don't like it, that is where you're amplifying for money. And that drives companies and Wall Street to only look at those metrics of money and engagement instead of societal benefit. Right.
Oh, you're talking about Facebook in particular?
I'm talking, Facebook in particular. I look at other people as well. Twitter's doing what.
But what should be done with Facebook?
What should be done with Facebook? Facebook. Well, we've heard their false promises for years. They need to be regulated. You need to come in and you need to start looking at these algorithms and start removing this amplification from revenue model, right? It is toxic. We have to separate the two. And we saw what happened in media, in traditional media. It is 10 or 100x online media. And we have to do something about it and get that algorithm out and understand it's for public good, not for public destruction.
And how do you do that with a private company? Do you think the government should go in and sort of fiddle with the algorithm of Facebook?
Well, I wish the controllers of Facebook would actually dig deep into their hearts, find their hearts, and understand that what society do we want to build? What do we want to live in? When we were doing the iTunes video store after the music store for the iPod and what have you, there was a discussion about, with Steve and the executive team at Apple, should we put porn on the Apple video store, iTunes video store? And Steve got up and said, this is not a world I want to live in. I don't want this world for my kids, my grandkids. We will not We will not do this. This is not allowed. We, I don't care if people make money and it's incredible cash business. I'm not doing it and I'm not enabling it, right? It takes that kind of leadership at these other media companies to say, what kind of world do we want to live in? What society do we want to live in for not just ourselves, but our kids and our grandkids and our societies? It takes that kind of guts. When you have that kind of leadership and you have that kind of responsibility, you need to lean in on that.
I want to read you a quote. You say, I wake up in cold sweats every so often thinking, what did we bring to the world? In other words, are you having second thoughts about the addictiveness of the iPhone and other types of devices that are now controlling the attention of our kids?
I am. I do think about it, and that quote, that statement I made, is absolutely true. Um, these were unintended consequences. The iPhone and mobile networks and and data and internet all converged at the same time to be 24/7. The goal here was to be able to do things that you do on a computer remotely. Okay, that's what the whole goal was, so you could do quick messaging. It became quickly the center of our life, and especially when the app economy was added to it years later, right? When it was added years later, or a year later, that's when people were able to exploit the platform. So the way I look at this is the iPhone or smartphones in general, they're refrigerators, okay? They're neutral. If you put bad things in your refrigerator and you eat those things, well then, you know, you're not going to be healthy. So we have unintended consequences with the iPhone. So what you as a platform, as a platform provider, you have responsibility to give nutritional facts for every single app that you download. Does it have kind of these algorithms in it? What could it do to you? What are the, just like we have for food, what's the nutritional line items for all the things that are in these apps we download? And I don't want to.
Oh, wait a minute. No kid is going to be reading the nutritional value of every app.
But no,
We
that's
have
true.
to unleash this. What should we be doing about the role that these devices play in our lives? Should we be putting them in separate rooms at times?
Yeah, well, absolutely. Look, there's one when the kids are 18 and below, I think you have to put in screen time limits. I was a real big advocate for screen time limits and different safety around that. But parents also have to abide by that as well. They set the role, they're the role models for the kids. They can't just control the kids and not control themselves. But that said, we do need more system level controls around these things, so you do that. Now, you have to be the change you want to be to see that your kids should mirror. Those are the kind of things where put your phones away when you're at the table. Look at each other. Talk to each other. Don't just do this, right? Don't even have the phone on the table because it's distracting. I turn off all the notifications. Pre-COVID, we actually had one day a week where we would have no screens and displays in the family, right? To have that kind of experience. We know that these are really useful tools, right? And the reason why I don't feel bad about these tools is because they bring incredible information. But like food and everything else, it needs to be used in moderation for information. Work, you're going to work on. But when you're consuming things like entertainment or other content, you need to watch out because you can't just binge watch everything. You can't just TikTok or Reels or whatever that stuff. You have to moderate yourself and use screen time tools, and also use, help your kids who you have to teach.
It's really interesting. You're one of the primary inventors of the iPhone. Obviously, Steve Jobs was. Steve
Absolutely.
Jobs never allowed his kids or his family or himself to have the iPhone or any computer in the room where they ate dinner in the evenings. And likewise, you're saying, as one of the primary people who helped bring us the iPhone, you don't allow it around a dinner. You don't allow your kids just to use it.
Yeah, I really get upset when I do see that, and I also don't want to see it when adults are together either.
You're now very involved in green technology. Tell me why you turn your focus to that, and what do you think the promise of those technologies are?
So we are in a climate crisis. We are going to have to reinvent the way we live, our societies. We need to find those technologies that allow us to live similarly to what, not the same, but similarly to what we can live today, but in a green circular way. So we're trying to find the disruptive technologies that allow these things to happen. So I've taken it on over the last 6 years. Now we're invested in 20, 30, 40 different companies all around climate. And in fact, with Build, all proceeds, net proceeds of Build are matched 5 times by me to go fund climate crisis solutions. So we're really trying to, with this book and with what we do every day, is try to show the way of how we're going to get out of this crises we're in. And we're going to need to do it together with the best brains, the best capital, and work together to make that happen. So I'm very excited about the hydrogen economy. I'm very excited about new forms, like I said, of agriculture, transportation. And so for me, it's really rewarding to see, what happened with COVID and how we all came together around COVID. COVID sucked, but we needed to come together and create new business, new ways of being, and we could pull it together in weeks. Look what happens, the terrible tragedies that's ongoing in Ukraine. Look at how we're changing our energy systems in weeks. We can do this if we mobilize, and unfortunately, against ourselves and how we're living. We have to mobilize and have the will to go and make those changes so it's better for our future generations as well as ourselves.
Tony FADELL, thank you so much for joining us.
Hey, Walter, always great to see you. Thank you.